and I am here to do the devil's work.
If you were a kid in the 90s, then you know Goosebumps. I'm aware it's had some recent revivals and films, but I'm talking about the original run, back in its prime, the ultimate gateway into horror for kids, and it also got us to read. With the iconic cover art by Tim Jacobus, every single story had this unique and spooky feel to it, like opening up one of these books was just going to transport us into a strange world of terror and imagination. They were written by R.L. Stine, who was dubbed the Stephen King for kids back in the day, and when I was in school, there was even a rumor that it was Stephen King that was writing under a pseudonym. This is, of course, not true, but back in elementary school, it was filled with rumors, and before the internet, you couldn't just go confirm it instantly. Kind of like the famous Marilyn Manson rumor. And if you're around my age, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyways, the original run of Goosebumps ran all through the early to mid-90s and had just over 60 different books published, all around 100 pages or so, and directed at kids, with children characters in the books being the protagonist. Each story was its own thing, so you could pretty much pick up any Goosebumps book and be good to go, with the exception that some stories did have direct sequels. I remember being a kid and just staring at the cover art in awe on some of these things, being captivated by the art style and probably looking at it longer than it actually took me to read the book. But it wasn't long until the popularity of the books were noticed by television executives, and in 1995, Goosebumps became a TV series, with most all of the episodes adapting the books directly, though not in the same order. The opening theme showing the mysterious figure of R.L. Stine looking over the small town, the Goosebumps stories being blown all out of the suitcase, and some kind of evil letter G shadow corrupting all that it passed over, along with the memorable theme music that every 90s kid still remembers to this day. This was our Twilight Zone, a show that gave us chills and ignited our love for horror before we knew much about the genre at all. And some episodes did a great job at being legitimately scary. But since it's the Halloween season now, I wanted to talk about a particular episode that stands out, perhaps more than any other, and also takes place on Halloween. Literally, it is the premiere episode of the series, The Haunted Mask. First of all, just look at this thing. This was for a kid's show, and it's still one of the creepiest masks of all time. The episode came out on October 27th, 1995, meaning it is going to be 30 years old now. And it was even hosted by R.L. Stine himself. It begins right before Halloween, as the main character, Carly Beth, is known for being a scaredy cat and is constantly harassed by bullies pulling pranks on her. Instantly, you sympathize with her because she's not doing anything to cause this to happen. She's just chilling at lunchtime and they put a worm in her sandwich. Kids are just assholes, man. Her plan for trick-or-treating was to just go as a cute, harmless, wholesome yellow duck. But now, after the constant harassment, she decides that she wants to get back at her bullies, and she wants to find a costume that will truly scare them. She goes into a costume shop that is run by this creepy man with a scar on his face that probably should not be alone with children.
What is your name?
But after searching for a while, she eventually finds a special row of masks in the back room, one of which looks like the Chatterer from Hellraiser, but she is drawn towards the green mask, and even though the shopkeeper tries to stop her from taking it, she just steals it. Well, she actually throws money at him, so she technically paid for it. The supernatural element that is introduced is that once she puts on the mask, she finds it incredibly difficult to take off again. But it's effective in scaring her little brother, so she decides it'll work well for her revenge. There's also this weird sculpture of her head that her mom made. Yeah, I don't really get it, but it's meant to represent the sweet, kind, and innocent Mary Beth, which she's trying to distance herself from. So naturally, she puts the sculpted head on a spear, effectively killing her older self, and she runs into the night with her plans to trick-or-treat and scare the bullies in the haunted mask. She starts acting like a monster, and one of the funniest parts to me is that she's just running around scaring random children while screaming like a maniac. It's the kind of shit that I want to do on trick-or-treat night, but now I'm too old and I would just have the cops called on me. But the intent is that the mask is slowly changing her, taking over her persona, and making her evil. But since it's a kid's show, the evil is pretty much just her scaring trick-or-treaters and cackling like some kind of cliche witch. Rewatching this now as an adult, it's so incredibly tame and silly that it's funny to think that it ever creeped me out. But for a show made for 7-year-olds, it was effective at the time. It wasn't really how she acted that was scary, it was the idea, the feeling of being trapped and possessed behind this mask. She is able to get vengeance on her bullies and scares them, which is satisfying, but then it goes a little too far. And after returning home, not only is she not able to get the mask off, but the mask has now fused into her skin, so she's becoming this creature. For anybody that's a little claustrophobic and just thinking about being trapped underneath a mask and having it take over your entire body, it's a truly scary idea despite this being a kid's show. And actually, if you want an adult version of this idea, check out the movie Clown. It's essentially the same thing. A guy puts on a clown costume and then it starts to take over his body and turn him into, well, an evil clown. It's not the best evil clown movie you could find, but it's certainly effective in its execution. Mary Beth runs back to the costume shop where she discovers all the masks are alive and are a result of an experiment by the creepy shop owner, things that he attempted to make in order to hide his own face, but the masks have a mind of their own. The ending gets just as corny as it is creepy. There's basically a moral lesson at play of appreciating and valuing yourself for who you are rather than trying to be somebody else. To break the spell, you need a symbol of that, represented by the sculpture of the head of who she was. She buried the sculpture in the graveyard, fitting symbolism, and now she needs to go back and dig it up. But the creepy part is that all the other masks come to life and float in the air chasing after her, whispering her name. By today's standards, it's pretty goofy, but as a kid, this is the part that freaked me out. But unburying the sculpture works as a symbol of love for herself, and she's able to remove the mask, forcing the other mask to run or float away. It's a little anticlimactic, but I get the sentiment. Mary Beth returns home, everything is good now, except she brought the mask home with her for some reason, and while her back is turned, her little brother puts it on, leaving on a cliffhanger as many of these episodes did. This may not seem like much now, but this episode made an impact to an entire generation. It's the one that most of us remember best, and it introduced Goosebumps as a series to the world. If you didn't know about the books beforehand, you definitely did now. And it brought forth a legion of iconic stories and characters. So if you want something a little more wholesome than our dark, gory, usual adult-oriented movies and shows, throw it back to the mid-90s for a while and into the era of Goosebumps. Remember your childhood and the fun, spooky scares these books and the TV episodes gave you? Halloween is also meant to be fun, and I think a lot of these episodes represent that. The other episodes I would recommend are The Girl Who Cried Monster, Night of the Living Dummy 2, Stay Out of the Basement, Say Cheese and Die, which actually has a young Ryan Gosling in it. There's The Werewolf of Fever Swamp, You Can't Scare Me, How to Kill a Monster, and Calling All Creeps. And that's just a small sample. There's a ton of great classic episodes out there, and there's also the show Are You Afraid of the Dark? But that's a story for another time. Let me know what your favorite Goosebumps episode was, or your favorite Goosebumps book back when you were a kid, or if specifically The Haunted Mask left any kind of impression on you that you still feel to this day. And maybe besides Goosebumps, what was the horror thing that you watched when you were a kid? What was your gateway? Let me know all of that in the comments. Thanks as always for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Give the video a thumbs up and comment to help it out in the algorithm. Hope you guys are having a great spooky season, and I'll talk to you next time.
Trick or treat!
Now that wasn't too scary, was it? Mom? Dad? What did you think?